Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I came across some more C8 Corvette information that I figured I would share with you guys, so let's get right into it. Alright guys, so our first bit of information actually comes from the magazine called Muscle Cars and Trucks. They actually have reported that the engine we're going to get, which we all know the base model engine is going to be the new LT2, they are reporting it is actually going to be a dual overhead cam V8. It's still going to be called the LT2 obviously, but they're exchanging push rods for a dual overhead cam. This is the first time I've heard this, and of course, as with everything with this car, when it's in the rumor stage, we want to take it all with a grain of salt, but this is a fairly well-known magazine publishing this, stating that it is definitely going to be a dual overhead cam V8 engine. I've seen rumors suggesting that the Z06 and the ZR1 version of this car would have a dual overhead cam, but a lot of the information I've seen so far about the LT2 was specifically saying it was just going to be a slightly updated version of the LT1 we currently have in the Stingray C7 Corvette, which of course would have meant it would still be pushrod. But now we're being told this LT2 is updated from the LT1, and instead of push rods, we're getting the dual overhead cam. It makes sense whenever you think about it, because that is very likely where the extra horsepower is coming from. The Stingray LT1 has around 460 horsepower, and so far the rumors for the base model C8 have stated at least 530, possibly all the way up to 600 horsepower in the base model engine. To be able to get that much more power out of that same style engine, only slightly updated, the only thing that really makes sense is that there would be some sort of overhead cam in this. While it does make sense, like I said, we want to take all of these rumors with a grain of salt. Now, the next bit of information also comes from the same website, still Muscle Cars and Trucks. They are reporting on the fact that the ECU in this car may be completely unmodifiable. Basically what that means is you would not be able to tune the car. If we remember back to the 2019 Corvette ZR1, it was the same way. That car went a long time without being tuned. Now, of course, that makes a little more sense with the ZR1 because the ZR1 was made in such limited production numbers. It was kind of hard to get your hands on one. And when you did, odds are good, your first thought after buying a $150,000 car wasn't to take it to the nearest tuner to get it modified. With that said, it did eventually get the ECU unlocked. And after that, companies like HP Tuners started actually tuning the car, unlocking even more horsepower. So it's a nice thing to have as an option, but at the same time, it doesn't surprise me that these auto manufacturers would attempt to lock it down in an even stronger way than they have. Now, of course, auto manufacturers lock this thing down from the very beginning when they sell the car, no matter what kind of car it is. So if you go out and buy a brand new, even a Corvette Z06, that ECU is locked. But of course, it has been unlocked to allow it to be tuned. The only thing that makes this different with the C8 Corvette is, in my previous video, we talked about the new electronic architecture that this car will be using. And because of that, it could be encrypted in a way that either will A, take a long time to unlock, just like it did with the C7 ZR1, or B, never be unlockable. And that would be disappointing for any of the aftermarket crowd out there, but GM is focusing majorly on quote-unquote cybersecurity with this particular architecture. On the Muscle Cars and Trucks website, they actually say, quote unquote, they have learned that the upcoming 2020 C8 Corvette may be off limits to much of a performance tuning community because of its unique encrypted ECU system. In effect, successfully flash tuning or reprogramming and otherwise altering the engine control unit to increase power output will be next to impossible. Like I said, that's kind of disappointing to anybody out there wanting to do any kind of aftermarket to their cars. But at the same time, every car out there is sold with this kind of mentality. They don't want you necessarily altering anything with the ECM or the ECU. They don't want you tampering with the car in a way that could damage it and then have you bring it in for a warranty repair. Of course, GM is always able to see if there was something altered on the engine computer, but at the same time, there are ways of hiding it, etc. Like I said, this kind of system already is in every car out there that's sold, but GM is focusing so much on the security aspect of it with this new architecture that it could make this car completely untunable. They go on to say that when a programming event fails, the C8 Corvette is designed to go into what can essentially be described as a recovery mode. When this happens, it communicates certain data in order to restore a point that a new programming session can start. Then the ECU can be reprogrammed as normal. In layman's terms, any foreign code will shut down the Corvette's computer and it will need to be rebooted. If one does not have the resources to re-image the ECU of the 2020 C8 Corvette, the vehicle is as good as a rolling paperweight. They state this on their website as if they have heard this directly from GM, and of course, I've said it already twice in this video, you gotta take this with a grain of salt, but at the same time, if they are getting this information from an inside source at GM, this is kind of scary. A lot of the information I talked about in my previous video about this new electronic architecture coming from GM made it sound like it was a great thing, and it really is overall a good thing, but if they're gonna focus this much on making the car completely tamper-proof, it's definitely gonna hurt the aftermarket crowd. A lot of people out there that have Corvettes like to modify them. They like to make them their own, and that's exactly what I do with my Corvette. I like to take it and do what I want with it to make it slightly different and more quote-unquote me. If this car is going to be basically untunable, it's going to definitely hurt the people like me out there who want to customize it, who want to make it theirs. Now, with all that being said, I actually received an email from 2 different people that have commented on my videos in the past with additional rumors of the C8 Corvette that I'm going to go over with you guys now. Like I said, the rumors are just that, they're rumors. So until they're proven true, there's no guarantee that any of this stuff is true. But the more I hear of this kind of stuff, the more all of it starts making sense. So I'm going to report on these rumors. I'm going to tell you guys everything I know, and I'll let you make your own mind up on whether or not they are to be believed. One of the first things I was told was this car was going to have exactly 822 horsepower on the dot. Now, this is referring to the base model car that we're going to be seeing on July 18th. This rumor says 822 horsepower on the dot, and it's going to have a completely revised interior that will look nothing like the previous generation's interior. There is apparently going to be a rear-wheel drive gas-powered only version that he states he could not provide the name of just because it could possibly get people in trouble, but we've all heard of the base model being called either a Stingray or even possibly a Manta Ray. So it's possible one of those two could be what he's referring to. He states that this particular model will look like the mid-engines, but it will have some C7 Corvette heritage, and it will also have a manual transmission, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm basically talking about 2 different versions here. The base model we're going to get right off the bat is 822 horsepower, no manual option, and it will be a completely revised car that will look nothing like the C7 on the interior, at least. The second model he talks about is the one that will have some heritage to the C7 as well as a manual transmission. He goes on to say that the starting price for the brand new C8 is going to be $120,000 for this base model car. This is the first time in a while that I've heard any kind of starting price being over $65,000 to $70,000. So if this is to be believed, that is a very expensive base model car, and that tells me that the Z06 or ZR1 could easily be into the mid $200,000 range. That is definitely unfortunate because that puts this car outside of the potential buyer's pocket by quite a bit. This is definitely different information. This is not anything I've heard before. So that tells me this is either 100% true or 100% false. This particular person wanted their name kept out of the actual video to remain anonymous completely, which is a good sign usually when it comes to information like this, but at the same time, I have heard none of this stuff before, so I'm not 100% sure how accurate it is, but like I said, I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. You make up your mind on whether or not this is legit. I get the information, I share it with you just because, like I've said 100 times, I'm very excited for this car. I can't wait to see the thing, and all the information I get on it, I know you guys would be just as excited to hear. But like I said, I just wanted to deliver that information to you guys, let you make up your own mind on it, because after reading over this stuff, some of it could be true, some of it couldn't be. We'll have to wait and see for sure. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to shoot them in the comment section down below. Go ahead and send me an email at horse.power.obsessed@gmail.com if you have something you want to share with me that you'd rather not make public. Give me a big thumbs up if you liked what you saw today. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And of course, I'll catch you guys in the next one.